everybody, welcome to the Mom Series, The Misunderstanding of Multiplicity. My name is Maria. Happy Thursday to think about that. Okay, so I'm just sitting here crocheting as I do, or knitting, when I'm going to talk about, I don't know, a topic that might not be helpful during a pandemic. Let's just put it that way. All right, so I'm just going to name this The Trouble with Trauma. And I will tell you all about this pattern in a minute. For those of you that love to crochet. So I decided to name this The Trouble with Trauma when I realized that we are becoming a world that only comes together and supports one another in tragedy and trauma. We just don't seem to recognize each other as human until there's a trauma, a global tragedy like a pandemic, a building collapsing, 911, a war, a flood, a disaster, human atrocities. I guess I'm just a little curious as to why it takes awareness for a movement and a campaign of Me Too, of children being abused, of domestic violence, of humiliation, of discrimination, to, go overboard and witch hunt in some situations and become big-ass lawsuits for people to pay attention. Why whole buildings in Miami have to be systemically rotted and falling before people do their job and there's accountability. Before people actually care, there's people living in there. I know it's about the money, but there's got to be some kind of accountability before it gets to, oh my God, 1,000 people are missing in bed. Right? Oh my God, 300 women were molested or raped by that person. Oh my God, 5,000 children everywhere were molested, raped by priests, Boy Scout leaders, Girl Scout leaders, athletic coach, Olympic coach. Goes on and on. You name it, it's out there. Oh my God, there's still tragedy going on at the border. The border is a mess. Nobody saw that woman come over the border and have a baby behind the garbage can. Yeah, that's going on too. Oh my God, 20 million people are dying of an opioid crisis and turning to junk in their pipe and the pills that they crush and they smoke in their weed and everything else, and they're dying. It doesn't affect us when people like Chris Cornell are found dead hanging, and Chester Bennington are found dead hanging. Kate Spade is found dead hanging. Robin Williams is found dead behind a door with cut marks, with a noose around, he's strangling himself. It doesn't, nothing, when Prince is found dead, when Michael Jackson is hooked up to the doctor right there, his milk, and I mean, it affects us for a hot minute. And then we're like, oh, well, it's the opioid crisis. Oh, well, some scummy landlords didn't do their job. Building inspectors overlooked it. They were all about the money. They didn't want to spend the money. They didn't want to lose their tenants, so they just kept getting as much rent as they could in Miami. They kept renting, kept milking, getting the money until it fell down. They just patched. They went out and got a little Gorilla Glue, caulking, Gorilla Tape, and now we have this big tragedy. They got a building inspector to look the other way. They were going to start the work, but they made up their mind they couldn't. I mean, it goes on and on. So, I think what I've been thinking lately is there are lessons to be learned in the traumas. And are we learning them? Are we learning them? Myself, coming from a past of trauma, which I don't think is that unusual, but coming from a turbulent home during divorce time and parents that just, I think my mom and dad were more like, I liken them to Liz Taylor and Richard Burton in Cat on a Hot Tin Roof. They were passionately in love and they were passionately crazy nutso with each other. They just were fire and ice. They weren't meant to be together. Okay, so I grew up in a very turbulent, domestically violent home. Both my parents abused each other for a time. And then they would be great again. And that's the whole honeymoon cycle that nobody really understands until you're in the middle of it. Kids get it. Kids understand. I have to prepare for, I don't know where I'm going in the middle of the night. My mommy might go to the hospital. My daddy might go to jail. Police are going to come. I'm going to get woke up. I'm going to have to go to my aunt and uncle's. I better be ready. So kids start to prepare for that when they go to sleep at night. They safeguard, okay? There's no way to safeguard from a building falling. There's no way to safeguard from an invisible microbe that's just out there, airborne. So there's all kinds of tragedies and traumas, but we seem to only react to the global traumas. And even now, we're getting used to it, aren't we? We're getting used to it. It's sort of like trying to figure out the weather. Where I live in Rochester anyways, you can get 30-degree changes. So the trouble with trauma is it's tricky. That's what I want to say. It's tricky. It's turbulent. It is like a terror that if you wanted to spiritualize it and go look in your Bible, you could read Psalm 91 that talks about the terror that comes by day and by night and lurks. And there's those kind of things that God always said would be trials and tribulations. But then there's, and if you go into a war, if your country's in a war and you go into a war and you come back with post-traumatic stress, that's kind of a given. Post-traumatic stress, you have a traumatic event, and post-trauma, you're stressed out from it. Past that trauma, you're still remembering it. So post-trauma, which has always been interesting to me, is people think that when you have post-traumatic stress, that you actually are able to forget it, the event, and that the flashbacks and feeling like you're in that event again means you don't know where you are and your memory is no good. Well, it's a flashback. It's part of disassociation, but it's not, how do I say, it's not a psychotic break. It's not like you don't know reality and you can't remember. And I think somewhere between post-traumatic stress, complex post-traumatic stress, which is continual. Now, I want to be careful how I say this. There can be people that have post-traumatic stress from growing up in a home that was domestically violent. And then there can be people that have post-traumatic stress from growing up in a home environment where they were abused. Whatever way they were abused, physically, mentally, emotionally, humiliated, whatever. Sexually, and it was a reoccurring event. They could never go on to complex post-traumatic stress or disassociation or DID or MPD. And we wonder why. Why? Because they prepared themselves for it. Because each person is different. It has to do with not weakness, really, but the resilience each person has in their psyche. So everyone is born with a different DNA code, a different psyche, a different stamina, a different ability to withstand so much. Okay? And it doesn't mean you're weak if you get post-traumatic stress or complex post-traumatic stress, but there are traumas that once you've gotten over, say you can prepare for, I know I'm going home and I'm going to sit at the dinner table and my mother's going to start nagging my father and my father's going to start getting pissed off. His face is going to turn red. He's going to be eating with his fist closed. Before I know it, the plate's going to go flying. The table's going to go flying. She's going to go diving. Somebody's going to have their hands around their neck. Everybody's going to be, I'm going to be diving under the table. My brother's going to be running around the table. And eventually we're going to end up ambulance, police car, aunt or uncle coming to pick us up in a different home until mommy and daddy get it together. Okay. So there comes a time you can go to bed and start preparing for that. You honestly can. You can put your covers up to here and think. And it's the same way with sexual abuse. You have someone that's coming in and being inappropriate with you and molesting you and harming you. You can kind of prepare yourself when I go to that house, when I go to bed at night, when I go. So actually, you can walk away from that with post-traumatic stress. So how do you end up with complex post-traumatic stress? When there's breaks in between it so long, like maybe your mother and father only flip out on the holidays and things have been going really good. And all of a sudden, on the way home from a holiday, they're right back where they were. And you didn't see that coming from nowhere. You didn't prepare for it. Or you're maybe the person that has been abusing you suddenly is just not interested in abusing you anymore. You know, you've been in bed every night, you've been like listening for footsteps, but it's not happening. I start to think that person is okay. They're leaving me alone. Maybe they went through a phase. I'm okay. Take a deep breath, right? Take a deep cleansing breath. And when you least expect it, there they are again. So it really is the terror, the unseen terror, the thing you couldn't prepare for, because you can prepare for repeated abuse. You can. You can be like a soldier, which is why it's called post-traumatic stress, because soldiers come back from war being very prepared and they're war fatigued. They're exhausted from it. So what I wonder is, are we exhausted as a nation when we look at all trauma? As a globe, are we exhausted with the news? Yes. I run into people all the time and say, I don't even watch the news. I can't. It stresses me out. It makes me crazy. But then they're like, what? We got to do what? We got to wear a mask? Who said? Why? We can't go to school. We got to do a Zoom. Who said? Why? Because they're not watching the news. They're really not. So, it just balls me over every time. I'm like, seriously? You didn't hear that? You don't know that? Then there's people that are so aware of the news, and I guess I'm one of them now, that every minute I'm like, ping pong ball. Really? You just said take the mask off. I know you're going to say to put it back on. I don't believe you anymore. I'm going to keep the mask on. Airborne. Airborne means I'm going to keep the mask on. Vaccinated, fully vaccinated. Oh, wait. Did I hear when I got my vaccination with Pfizer, the lady say right to my face, there's probably going to be a third booster and a fourth and a fifth that we're all going to need. And was she not a nurse of virology? And she said that? Yes. But when I wrote it on Facebook, people came along and said, there's not going to be no third booster, Maria. My neighbor said to me, I just got my shot. There's not going to be no third booster. Everybody's like, now I got to get a third shot. Pfizer wasn't good enough. They're just trying to make money. Pay attention to the details. I think the reason we keep getting traumatized so terribly by everything is we forget so quickly. I don't forget. I don't forget. I wish I could, but I don't. So nothing really surprises me. And I think that is what complex post-traumatic stress really is. You're ready to battle. You're ready because people are changing up all the time. People are saying, oh no, I didn't do that. You did that. And then didn't it? No. You know that at any point, somebody can take away their love from you. They can reject you. They can abandon you. They can hurt you. They can say all manner of crazy about you. Okay. Now I'm going to go all the way back to a movie that everybody in, because this channel was about how does the media depict these labels, post-traumatic stress, DID, MPD, multiple personality, dissociative identity disorder, dissociative disorders, complex post-traumatic stress. How does film, how does media perpetuate the myths, sensationalize these labels so that we're only thinking one thing? We don't get it. Okay. Remember when a little movie called Split came on and the whole DID community out here was trying to boycott the movie? I came forward with a very unpopular view because I've been out here since 2007 talking about media depictions that get it right more than wrong and do not sensationalize. I've been looking at every form of media, music, fiction, nonfiction, small screen, big screen, books that came out. Hollywood comparing Illuminati to Monarch programming, to Bluebird programming, to artichoke programming, to all the things that would have to do with multiplicity, right? And then the alter aspect egos that actors are trained to have with method acting. Okay, so I've been talking about all that. And just how hard it is sometimes to stay in character, and how when a person has been in a character method acting, they actually can not come out of character, and how also they have to go to therapy to come out of character. And they don't come out of character ever themselves. They hang on to aspects and portions of that character. I've been looking at kind of a flip side of multiplicity along with trauma without really looking at the trauma model that so many psychiatrists and therapists have hung their hats on that causes DID or MPD. But with complex post-traumatic stress and MPD, DID, in a fictional movie, there was a movie called Split, and a person was diagnosed with DID. And the whole community was like, no, this is not good for media. It was like, oh, everybody was up in arms. Oh my God, we're not a monster. We're not like that. We don't kill people. We don't. Of course we don't. We don't. And there will always be depictions of we do. But this movie actually concentrated more on what the doctor told the patient, Kevin, his alters were, and how she interacted with the alters, and how she gave them meaning and defined them. Not saying doctors create it, but how doctors understand it, therapists, and how then Kevin came to believe he was. Now, did he have trauma when he was younger? Yes, he did. He had terrible trauma. But the doctor, again, another situation, she was looking to get him written up in a manual for MPD, DID, right? But she was going one step further, that he actually could have superpowers, that of superhuman powers, beastly powers, because she had seen him become very strong, okay? And he normally presented very weak. We know that in trauma, we can get such a large amount of adrenaline that we can do things, all people, that you never could. How many times have you heard of a mother flipping a car over because their child was under it? It happens. You get superhuman strength. It's an adrenaline rush, okay? But this doctor convinced the person with multiple personality, Kevin, that he was becoming superhuman. If they integrated, he would have all the powers of all the alter aspects of himself. Okay, so meanwhile, the not so good alter, which there always is one in the movies, at least, kidnaps 3 girls. One girl is not even supposed to be there. Her name is Casey Cook. Casey Cook definitely had trauma in her background. She's the one character that survives. When they're going through all their kidnapping, their senses are being locked down, they're in a cell together, the Beast is coming in and threatening them. The alter named the Beast. I won't give away the whole movie, but I'll just say when she survived because she had trauma. She knew how to negotiate with trauma. She knew how to prepare for the Beast. She knew when he became the Beast. She knew when he was changing. The other girls were just running around trying to get away from him, acting crazy, and getting themselves hurt. She was, let me just study him. Let me make friends with him and him and him and oh, that little kid. She knew. She recognized trauma because she had been in trauma. Her father died of a heart attack. Her uncle took care of her, and he molested her and abused her from a young child, and she ended up becoming a self-harmer. And at the end, that's kind of revealed. And the Beast, what Kevin thinks he's become, he recognizes that she is worth sacrificing because she's already been through enough trauma. So I'm going to give more examples in other videos, but I think it's really important to look at the flip side because I've been reading a lot of studies out here about the good that trauma can teach us. Not that we should all go out and look to be traumatized, but there's enough trauma going on in the world collectively, globally, that we can learn to never forget and to not be in those situations. Again, not that we're blaming ourselves for when trauma visits us unexpectedly. That said, do we really trust the weather now? No, we don't. Do we have a first aid kit in our house? Yes. Do we have a fire plan? Hopefully, right? Do we prepare for storms? Yes, hopefully. Do we go store up when the virus, hopefully not on just toilet paper, like I've noticed yesterday everyone's doing already? Yeah, I went to the grocery store and no single rolls of toilet paper, just a big old already. So we're in another pandemic season with the Delta variant rising and everything going code orange and code red, and single rolls of toilet paper are again disappearing. Because what are people? Anal. They just can't understand you can use a washcloth and soap, right? Water's gone. Soup was gone. It's crazy. So what are we learning from trauma? Good and bad. So Casey Cook in the movie Split learned all through the movie, she kept flashing back. She kept getting triggered by everything that was happening, and she kept flashing back to the trauma that happened to her, and she recognized it and knew what to do. Like, I'm gonna be really quiet now. I'm gonna like make a joke and talk and make everyday language. I'm gonna distract. I'm gonna bargain. I'm not gonna show my fear right now. All the things she learned in her trauma, she used in the unexpected trauma of being kidnapped by a person with MPD, DID, who was integrating into a beast. Didn't really care and was going to kill people, right? So, but the reason I liked the movie, and I said there'll be a sequel, is it shows all the mistakes you make by believing trauma is always bad. Trauma is the trial and the lessons, the tribulation and the trials that we are supposed to have, unfortunately, in life. Unfortunately, the trauma comes to us, and if we don't learn the lessons, it will keep revisiting us. It really will. So that's the trouble with trauma right there, is if you don't learn not to trust people that are showing you who they are, what they are, if you don't learn to listen to their words carefully, notice when they come around you. And you've got people that are hitting you up around payday. They start calling you 2 or 3 days around, like they know maybe you get paid on Thursday, and they start calling you Monday. Hey, how you doing? You don't hear from them. All of a sudden you hear from them usually around Monday. Just checking in, and they start dropping hints. I'm not doing too good with money or whatever. Or maybe it's closer to like a Tuesday. They know you're going to get paid on Thursday. If you were getting paid on Wednesday, it would be Monday, like 2 days before. Got people that are over complimenting you all of a sudden. You haven't seen them in forever. When they were around, they ignored you. Now they want to make an effort to be around you. They're hearting your they're on every post. Hearts, hugs, likes, love you, you rock, over complimenting you, being super duper nice, sickening sweet nice. It's all part of the hustle and the grooming. It's like, come here, little girl, I want to give you some candy. No, no. Come here, little boy, I want to show you a little puppy dog. No. Or do you have people in your life that say they want to ask you a favor, but they're like, you're so good at this, and I'm terrible at this, and I know this is your niche. You're good at writing. You're good at making videos. You're really good at cooking. That's not my thing. Can you? Okay. There's now that's not trauma, but can you keep ending up being used and abused in situations? Hustled? Yeah. So you need to know when you're being groomed, when you're being hustled, when somebody's just blowing smoke out the rear end and doing it to scare you. And we don't remember these things, sadly, because we're like, I was watching a video the other day, I'll have to find it, where a professor was talking about the theory of Adler disassociation with complex traumatic stress and post-traumatic stress. And she used a slinky. And you can use dominoes, it would be the same thing. And she took the slinky and she said, when a person has one trauma, and it's just one trauma. They have a really horrible event, a hurricane. They're with it. They're in that event collectively with a bunch of people. Everyone knows about it, and there's support for them later. The slinky goes, and it goes back and forth like this. Because they're being supported, it's still stretched out like this, right? And they're still able to do this. When you add another stress on it, the slinky goes, no, it comes down a little way. Another trauma. Another trauma. Another trauma. Another trauma. This is complex post-traumatic stress. Now you can't hold it anymore. There's no going back to here to here. You can't do that. You go, and the slinky is down. You can disassociate at that moment, or panic, feel like this can't be happening. Derealization, depersonalization, and disassociation, and it's normal. Lady Gaga said she had a psychotic break in the hospital when she did an interview with Oprah. talking about she was in the hospital getting off of substances, many substances, alcohol, many substances, right? That she was using to regulate her mood and also to control trauma symptoms she was having from trauma she never dealt with from being raped. So she ended up in the hospital. They regulated her mood. They gave her a diagnosis of bipolar. And when it came time to discharge her and make a discharge plan, the doctors, with a court, the doctors explained to her her brain had been doing this. Sort of like that slinky. Trauma after trauma that she couldn't quite deal with because she had to keep working, right? Just doing, right? But in that meeting, when they were making decisions about her aftercare, how many shows she could do, what medication she would be on, what her weight would be, what she could eat, they were talking about all that, who was going to be in charge of it. Not quite a conservatorship or guardianship, we don't know, but she didn't mention that. But they were making decisions. She said her brain went from this to this, or this, if that. And at that point, she knew she was yelling. She knew she was emoting. She knew she was screaming, ranting, raving. She could hear that happening. She could feel what was going around a little bit, but she didn't recognize it as her. And she said she was having a psychotic break. And later the doctors told her that was disassociation. No, it wasn't. That was rage. That was rage. Disassociation is not a psychotic break from reality. That was pure rage. She was finally expressing herself along with expressing all the trauma when she wanted to scream, for being betrayed, for being abused, for suffering. She was finally emoting all of that, raging no, pounding no, screaming no, okay? But she couldn't react to stop herself. Right? That's when your brain goes like this. Complex post-traumatic stress is your brain going like this. It's like that slinky going. It's a big old block, and nothing can get past it. Now you're just. It's complex. You gotta start. It's not like trauma. You knew your parents were gonna fight every night. You knew a person was gonna molest you or abuse you. You kind of had a feeling. You had that weird uncle or that priest or that teacher or that whatever. You kind of knew they would just gave you that icky feeling and played stupid games with you. That's post-traumatic stress. Complex is when it all got better, but it just kept on going, kept happening. And it still is. Because we don't forget, but we don't learn from it. So globally, nationally, and individually, I want to start talking about the trouble with trauma and why it takes a global, national, local event for everybody to get talking about it and get compassionate and have empathy and see people as recognize another person as a human being who doesn't deserve to suffer and should never have to suffer before we really get it. Why is it taking so much trauma to wake humans up? Why? So that's all I'm really talking about the next few videos. So this pattern is almost getting near done. And I'm using, as promised, I tell you about the pattern. This is called Shells and Posts Afghan by mamastitcheryproject.com. And Mama is Heather Tucker, the designer. This is the front. This is the back. I'm working on the large. She gives us 5 generous sizes, an extra small, which can be used for a lap gan, wheelchair gans, premature babies and babies, a small baby blanket, toddlers, twin bed, a medium twin bed, maybe a love sofa, back of a couch, or a throw. Large, definitely a large bed. I have a double-and-a-half queen, which is just under a king. This fits my whole bed. The length, length will be determined by how many times I repeat this, which will be quite a few more times. And large and extra large. So I'm working on the large. So extra small, small, medium, large, extra large. She'll tell you exactly how much yarn you need. For this particular pattern, all you need to know how to do is make a slip knot and chain up the cast on. She'll give you the cast on chain. Double crochet, triple or treble crochet, double treble. In the UK, double crochet in the UK is called a treble. So you have to know how to do a triple in US. So in UK, it would be called a triple treble. So if you're UK, you need to know how to do a treble and a triple, a treble and a double treble, the treble with comma and trebles. You have to know how to do a double treble and a treble for UK, around a back post and a front post. And then you have to know how to do a treble. For US crocheters, you need to know how to do a double. You need to know how to do a triple or treble. Triple trips / treble. Then all you need to know how to do is chain up and a 3 double crochet together. 3 DC TOG. And how to do 3 double crochet in 1 stitch. All you need to know how to do. And you're just doing a succession of numbers, varying numbers to get your ripple going. Okay, there's four rows are your setup row, and then it's just you're repeating 2 rows over and over and over again. And in 1 row, you're trebling. I'll show you really quick. Let's see if I can show you really quick. So you're always going to be chaining up 3, and that will count as 1 double crochet when you turn. And then you're always doing 2 double crochets in that first double crochet. And then you're doing 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right. No, I think that was it. I did that already. Yeah, I did. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. So some of the stitches you'll be doing is a 3 double crochet together, and that goes like this, using 3 stitches. 1, 2, and 3. And you're always wrapping around, pulling through till you got 4 on your hook, and you pull through all 4. Right? Now in this, I'm going to be the post here is behind me. It's not facing my work, so I'm going to wrap around twice. That's a treble. And I'm going to back post, treble around a front post. Right? I've got 4 stitches there. 2, 2, 2. Yeah. And then you're just going to skip over. It'll tell you skip over. Do 2 double crochets. That's 2, 2. I'll show you that again. Wrap around, go into your stitch, pick up a loop, wrap around, 2, wrap around 2, chain 2, wrap around, go into your stitch, 2, 2, round, 2, 2. Okay? And again, wrap around twice. This is a treble. Come around the back of that post and treble crochet it. Got 4 on the hook. Wrap around, pull through 2, wrap around, pull through 2, wrap around, pull through 2. So you're doing that 3 times. And then here, you're going to do 3 double crochet together. Pick up 1, pull through, pick up the next stitch. You use 3 stitches to do this. You have 4. And then draw them all together, pull through the 4. Okay. And then basically you're just going on to your 5 again. And if I did this right, I will stop where I should, and I'll know it and show it to you. Yep, I did it right. Okay, so at some point you're going to be stopping with your succession of stitches. You'll be working into the second, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I may not have, we'll see. Nope, yeah, I did it right. You'll be either working into the first or the second stitch, and you're going to do 3 all in one stitch. So this is all the stitches you need to know how to do. 3 in 1, right? And then 1. That makes no sense. Wait a minute. Let me do that again. Let me do that again. Yeah, didn't make any sense. Hang on. I'm going to turn and start over. I do this a lot. So I may have got to stretch your stitches out to have the right amount. All right. So I am to 3 and turn. I'm going to go ahead and do 2 double crochet right here. 1, 2. I'll see if I have to fudge some stitches in. And then I'm going to do 1, 2, 3, 4. All right. I'm going to have to fudge some here. I don't know why, but I'm going to go 1, 2. Weird, I'm right back where I started. Unless that's it. That's it, right there. 2, 3. Okay, that makes sense. Got to stretch your stitches out when you're doing this. Okay, so then you got your little curve. Now I come around and behind this post of the previous double crochet, I'm trebling 3 times. Into here, 1, 2, 1, 2. Okay. And around the back of my post here, trebling again. So these are staying in the front, as they should. And then I'm picking up 1, 2, 3, and double crocheting those all together. Looks right, I don't know, we'll see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Still not right, so I'm going to do these together. I have an extra stitch, so I'm going to put these two together. There. And then and there. Right. I'm going to do 3 right here. 1, 2, 3. Now I'm on track again. I'll count them and I'll know. So what you're doing is yeah, that's right, lining up with the other ones. So you're doing like whatever the stitches is, 5, 7, 4, or 3, and you're doing 3 double crochet together. Then you're doing a treble around a back post or a double treble around a back post or a front post. So if they were facing me, I would be doing a front double crochet. I mean, this is really how simple the 2 rows that you're going to keep doing. You're just going to keep changing it. If they're facing you in the front, you're going to do, if your posts are facing you in the front, you're going to do a front post treble. If they're in the back, you're going to do a back post. Okay? That's all you're doing. And you can see the ones that have 3 in 1, you can follow that, and then you would go to that first stitch there. So 1. You'd always use the stitch, first stitch, wherever you land. So 1, 2, 3. So you might land on the second stitch on some of them, and you might land on the first stitch. I can't really tell you the whole pattern. If I told you that, I'd be telling you the pattern. So 1, 2. I'll just do my succession of stitches here. It's getting heavy. All right, and then I do my 3 together again. Having an issue with here. You have to make another one in there. I don't know why. This row is weird, but it works out. Maybe I'm just not wearing my glasses. So for some of them it will land on the second one, and for some it will land on the first. This is just the whole thing. I'm just going up and down. Nipple, unlike a chevron, but it is a chevron, and it's even. Where you go, it's even. So what I used is Mainstay Basic Yarn, Dark Charcoal Heather. And I love Mainstay Basic Yarn because it's an economical yarn. It works up like a high end. And because it's spun in Turkey. It's distributed from the Church of Walmart, but it's spun in Turkey and it's really nice. Then Red Heart White. So 99 cents to $1.29 for 1 pound. Or not 1 pound, I'm sorry. 7 ounces, I think. Okay. Red Heart Super Saver, 1 pound or a jumbo, anywhere from $2.79, $2.49 to $6.99, $5.99 if they're on sale. White Red Heart Super Saver. This one I subbed in a higher end yarn, Vanna's Choice Dusty Blue by Lion Brand, because the proceeds go to St. Jude's Hospital. 3.5 skeins of Dusty Blue for anywhere from $10 to $15. Okay. And then Red Heart Super Saver Buff, 99 cents. Red Heart Super Saver Cafe Latte, $1.29. So what I did here is 13 rows, 11 rows, 7 rows, 1, 2, 3 rows, 1, 2, 3, and I'm doing 4 rows here, so I got 7, so it's even with this. And then I'll go back to the blue, which I have out here somewhere. Bring it out here. It's in the other room. So I'll do the blue on this side of it, and then go to my white, and then go to my gray. I also have a lighter gray. So it'll take about 2 more repeats, and it'll be big enough. I'll be done. So you can go to mamastitcheryproject.com and look at Heather's beautiful patterns there. Miss Heather Tucker, Mama. And she has beautiful PDFs you can download, virus-free, no pop-ups, no junk. Read the threads, because if you have any questions at all, somebody's probably already asked them, and she does answer all the threads. She can tell you how to turn most of her Afghans into a shawl, work it in the round, make it smaller, what kind of yarn to use. She's very helpful. Thank you for watching. I hope you'll try this. It's a really fun Afghan to make. Have a nice day. Bye-bye.